Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the University of Denver Virtual Open House Week. Thank you so much for joining our study abroad session. My name is Chrissy Lebke. I am an admissions counselor. I am joined by some fabulous representatives from our Office of International Education representing study abroad. Just some housekeeping things as we have more people joining in. I will be helping moderate the question and answer section, which is my key to let you all know that you can use the question and answer function that is on your screen to ask us any questions that you might have throughout your time here about something that has been brought up or something that you have been wondering about with study abroad. Erica from our study abroad team will be answering those live as well. And then possibly at the end, we will have some time for some live answer. So please use that function to ask any questions that you might have. Also, you can turn on closed captioning for this webinar. That will also be a button on your screen that you can do so. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to our fabulous study abroad representatives.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Erica Jorgensen. I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of International Education. We're excited to share some info with you, and I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay Baker, who will be presenting tonight while I handle answering the questions, and we'll hopefully get to all of your questions by the end of this presentation. Take it away, Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lindsay. I'm a senior here at DU, and I'm a peer advisor in our Office of International Education. So I'm here to help students throughout their study abroad journey. I studied abroad in the fall of 2023 in Dakar, Senegal. So also a returnee from study abroad. So I'm always happy to share about the student experience as well. But I think we'll jump in with what is study abroad. So study abroad for our students at DU is an academic experience for students to live abroad for a term, take coursework, conduct research, or complete internships that apply to their DU career. So above all, this is an academic experience for students to really try out new things, learn more about their degree in another country. So some of stats about study abroad here at DU. Around 73% of our students study abroad during their time here. That number fluctuates a little bit every year, but we are consistently a top 10 sending school in the United States by percentage. So that's really amazing. I know study abroad was one of the reasons that I chose DU, and I think it definitely lived up to the hype. We have 106 partner programs right now, programs for every major. I know that can sometimes be a question, especially for majors that don't traditionally study abroad, what we think about as study abroad. But there really is something for everyone here at DU, which is amazing. We really work with students to make sure that anyone that wants to go abroad can go abroad. This process is really similar to applying for college, right? Our office is here to help students do the research and find the program that is the right fit for them. So why study abroad? What are the benefits for students? So we have some options here on the screen, an introduction to an exciting new way of seeing and knowing about the world. It's also a chance to pursue special academic interests in a new context. So that could be internships, that could be research, that could be other forms of experiential learning, or it could be homestays, building language skills that way. There's also the opportunity to develop an international perspective of your field and career path, again, potentially through research, internships, or just in the classroom. Also an opportunity to explore another region's history, society, and culture in depth. Living in another country for 4 to 5 months at a time really allows students to kind of learn about that place, immerse themselves in that place. So it's a really amazing opportunity. And finally, to increase language fluency, of course. That's an easy one when you're living in a country that doesn't speak English. So what are some more of those benefits? What are the numbers on that? Students say that 98% of them come back with a better understanding of their own cultural values and bias. 96% come back with increased self-confidence. So Learning how to advocate for themselves is a big skill that students talk about on their return. 75% build skills that influence their career path. Again, that could be internships or just things to talk about, an international perspective on that career, any of that. And 97% come back with a higher maturity level. So a lot of opportunities to grow while abroad, to learn about yourself, your academics, your career, all of that. So then talking about study abroad and the 4D student experience. So I'm sure at some point you've heard about the 4D experience. This is one of our signature programs here at DU for students to really grow as people and as academic individuals. So how does that relate to study abroad? So how do the 4 dimensions show up at DU? First of all, or for study abroad specifically at DU, first of all, with advancing intellectual growth. Of course, this is an obvious one. Taking classes abroad really allows you to expand what you think of your degree and the courses that you're taking, kind of obtain an international perspective. Our second one, pursuing careers and lives of purpose. Study abroad, again, allows students to explore what that career could look like internationally. I know we talk about it a lot, but in our globalizing world, this is huge for students, and it really gives you something marketable to talk about on a resume as well. Promoting well-being. Again, this is where some of those self-advocacy skills that we learn abroad can be helpful. Just learning about your life in another country and how to really get your needs met can be a really amazing opportunity for students. And I think myself and a lot of other peers have felt coming back that we have a better work-life balance here in the US now. And then finally, exploring character. There can be cross-cultural communication issues or opportunities where things come into conflict abroad. And so there's a lot of ways and opportunities to explore how to react to that. So what does studying abroad look like for DU students? For students that can go, most students go abroad in the fall quarter of their junior year for academic reasons. That's just the most common time. However, it's possible to study abroad during sophomore year or senior year, or even go more than once. That's absolutely an option as well. We recommend that students start talking to professors and advisors about study abroad as soon as they arrive at DU. Our office is always open as soon as students are coming in, so we're always happy to support students on that journey. And how long can students go abroad? So students can go abroad for varying lengths of time. Most students go abroad for just a quarter. So that can be the fall, winter, spring, or summer. The options are endless. Typically, that looks like a semester at an institution abroad, though that can depend. Students can also go for a full academic year, either to just one country for a full year or 2 different semester-long programs, up to them. Or even for some degrees, we offer the Global Masters Scholars Program, which would be a 2-year abroad opportunity. And I'll talk more about that on the next slide. And then finally, there are also some short-term options that are 1 to 2 weeks long. Those are called our interterm classes. And those are offered through another department here at DU, but those are led by DU faculty in other countries. So also an option. So what are our different program types that we offer? There are 5 main ones here, 4 ones. The first being exchange programs. These are reciprocal relationships with international universities. So we have, I believe, 8 of them in various countries. So we send students to those institutions and they send them here to DU as well. This is the best option for anyone that wants to study abroad for a whole year to do an exchange with a university abroad. We also offer direct enroll programs. This is where students take classes with local students in that host country and work with the institution directly. So these are a bit more independent and they allow students to kind of act like an international student abroad and navigate that system on their own. We also offer provider programs, which are going to be through our third-party organizations that are based here in the US, and they work between the institution in the foreign country and DU. Students on these programs take courses with international students and study abroad students. Typically, these offer a bit more support for students because they are based in the US, so that's another great option as well. And then finally, we have our Global Master Scholars Program, which is going to be a 5-year undergrad and grad combined program where students do their first 3 years here at DU and then study abroad for 2 years. And at the end of that, they graduate with the bachelor's degree from DU and their master's degree from the institution abroad. So that's only available for certain degree programs, but definitely an amazing opportunity for people that are looking for that. Some other considerations when students are selecting a program. Some programs do offer internships, service learning, or research, but that varies based on the program. So we just recommend that students do their research to ensure that if they're looking for those opportunities, they know where they can get them. And how much will it cost? This is a big question always. So DU has an amazing funding program so that students are build their DU tuition, housing, meals, and the DU tech fee. So they pay all of that to DU, and then DU pays the institution abroad. For some programs now, housing is paid directly to the institution, but your student will learn more about that when they're applying. Outside of that, outside of the typical DU cost, they'll also have to adjust for cost of living, which can be more or less depending on where a student goes. That's again another thing to research when looking at programs. But the good news is there are so many scholarships out there for study abroad. Our office does some of the research on that for students, and we're always happy to support. We have a ton of resources on that, and really we encourage students that if they're looking for that, the money is out there. So we're happy to help. Another amazing thing that DU offers is the Charrington Global Scholars Program. So this is a benefit to help offset the costs associated with study abroad. So anyone that's eligible for Charrington Global Scholars, their airfare and any immigration costs are covered. So you don't have to worry about flights, you don't have to worry about the visa fees, any of that. So this just helps make study abroad even more accessible for students. And when students return, we really want to make sure that they are thriving once they get back on campus and moving ahead in the future. So students come back and receive academic support, personal support, and professional support. There's a lot of resources about how to market your study abroad experience on a resume, how to talk about it in an interview, how to use those skills that you've learned either in or outside of the classroom in a personal context, an academic context. So we really make sure that once students are back, they're still feeling supported from their abroad experience. All right, I think we're going to open it up for questions now. I know there's been some in the Q&A so far, but absolutely keep asking. And thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. As people start to type their questions into the chat, I will just possibly get started with one for you specifically, Lindsay, to give people some time to answer some questions or to ask their questions. But what was the most memorable or your favorite memory and or moment from when you studied abroad?
Absolutely. Yeah, I lived with in a homestay while I was abroad and lived with a host family. And so they took me to a bunch of different events, but the most memorable, I went to a traditional wedding with them. And so there were folk dances and lots of, fancy clothing and just very different from the weddings that I'd been to in the US. So that was a very, very memorable day, very different experience.
I'll go ahead and answer a few questions live and then also share some resources in the chat. One question that came through is how do you know if you qualify for the Charrington Global Scholars benefit? Currently, the eligibility requirements are a 3.0 GPA and have completed 90 credits at DU. Students do not have to apply for this benefit. They're automatically awarded it at certain points in the year and then given instructions on how they get their flights and visa covered. And then in terms of the list of programs offered, I'm going to share a couple links in our chat to our website. And so on our website it has a lot of really great information, but then we also have what's called DU Passport, which lists out all the programs that we offer. Because it's 106, I won't list them all out live, but we do have programs all over the world. And so I'll share those here as well. Okay. Um, Lots of questions about exchange program partnership. And so I'll share that in the chat. Um, could a student complete 3 study abroad experiences in 1 calendar year? Yes, it could be possible. I think with good planning. So we do have the opportunity for students if we call it like a back-to-back program. So they could do 2 different programs in the same academic year. So 2 back-to-back semesters, as long as like the immigration requirements add up appropriately for each program, then they're able to pursue that. So technically they could do like a summer, fall, and spring and do 3 different programs in 1 year. That would be ambitious, but it is possible, I would say. Um, how many credits are quarter-long abroad experiences? Do you run the risk of not graduating on time when you take time out just to take a program abroad? Do you have to take more classes in other quarters to graduate on time? This is a common concern, I would say, across the board with studying abroad at any university. And so I would answer that as, good planning is really key to make sure that they're staying on track to graduate when they do go abroad. So they can take classes abroad that count back towards degree requirements at DU. We do have a course pre-approval system. So we have like a list of courses that are already approved to transfer back towards certain requirements at DU, which makes it quite seamless for courses counting back. And then really it's just about early planning. I know Lindsay mentioned it early on, like have your students start to communicate their interest in studying abroad kind of from the get-go. And the faculty at DU and the departments and deans are all very supportive of this experience. It's really, I'd say, one of the things that makes DU unique when it comes to study abroad. I'm very grateful to work here because of it, because everybody really values this experience at DU. So they want to make it work for students to be able to have this experience. Because most schools overseas are on semesters, they're actually usually taking more credits abroad than they are when they're doing a quarter at DU. So sometimes they get ahead. Sometimes, they just are on track. A lot of students have flexibility with general electives as well. So it just depends on the student. Lindsay, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how you planned like academically while I address some of these other questions as well.
For sure. No, I think it's a big, big question for a lot of students here, and I absolutely echo everything Erica said. I think that for everyone, this is kind of like built into the academic plan for students, and so it's very easy to kind of integrate that, even for like our engineering students or our music students that are on a much more like strict academic program. There is still like flexibility in there, especially with the quarter system. So I think for me, it was always kind of built into my plan. They kind of put a placeholder in your schedule of like 20 to 24 credits, which is typically what students bring back from abroad, compared to the usual like 12 to 18 that students take during a quarter. So you're already bringing back about the same to a little bit more credits. And so when I was looking, I knew that I would get some elective credits. And so I just looked at what I needed for common curriculum or for my major or for electives, and then talked a lot with my faculty advisor about that, and they were great. They really helped me figure out what credits I needed to bring back.
So I did include in the chat, excuse me for the extremely long hyperlink. And so the first link in the chat is to our DU Passport page. This is our application system. This is where students come to find out more information about every program. It's also a search tool, so students can search for programs by major, by language they want to learn, maybe by, if they want to do an internship, and they can kind of narrow down their search window that way while they're exploring. But it's also a good tool to come and learn about every single program that we offer. And so the full list of programs is quite a lengthy list there. And the ones with the stars next to the names are our exchange programs. So they are all over the world that we offer those. And then the last link that I've included is a link to our website. So you can access that search tool, DU Passport, through our website as well, but there's a lot of good resources and details there as well. Another question is, how do we find programs that current staff offer in the various departments to travel abroad? So Lindsay did mention an opportunity over interterm, so winter break, spring break opportunities, and sometimes summer. So the University Academic Programs Office oversees faculty-led programs. So these are courses led by faculty overseas, and it does vary year to year. The list of information is also, they list out the information in DU Passport as well. But University Academic Programs also has a website that promotes all the different faculty-led options over the course of the year. And then no additional cost. Does this mean there's no additional cost to study abroad through DU other than airfare and immigration, documentation fees, etc.? So yeah, yes and no. So what happens in terms of how costs work when students study abroad through DU? Students pay DU tuition for the time that they're abroad. And so that allows kind of the financial seamlessness that exists here with study abroad. And that means all financial aid can transfer to students while they're overseas, which is a real big benefit, I would say, to that model. And so depending on the program, they may pay DU housing or DU meals, depending on their housing arrangement. So those DU Passport pages do list out all the costs and details per program. And we get into that quite a bit when students are going through the process and through advising. In terms of other costs associated, if they are eligible for the Charrington Global Scholars benefit, their airfare and immigration fees would be covered. But of course, there's other costs associated with studying abroad. And then depending on the location that they're in, it could be more affordable than cost of living in Denver, or it could be less affordable just depending on the location that they're in and the exchange rate really in that country. So I would say expect additional costs, but really kind of the major costs associated are all, charged through DU, and then airfare and visa hopefully covered. So it's really like the on the ground living expenses, maybe meals, books and supplies, travel, that kind of thing. If the Charrington Global Scholar benefit requires 90 credits, would the students need to take a larger course load to achieve this status prior to their junior year? No, usually I would say most students meet the eligibility requirements for the benefit, and it does not usually mean that they need to take additional credits. So we do check the benefits kind of well in advance, including like the quarter that they're currently taking credits in. But normally, no students don't need to take a larger load in order to meet the benefits. And I think I've answered most of the questions. We'll see if any others come in.
Yeah, we have about 5-6 minutes left, so please get any questions in that you might have. I will ask a popular question that we get from visitors on campus. Are there any popular programs or programs that students are commonly selecting or have the chance to possibly go with other DU students out of these 100 programs?
Yeah, we get that question a lot too, and I don't always answer it in the way that maybe people want me to. I think our office's philosophy and approach is really about what's the best fit for the student and really spending time, thinking about like what they want to get out of the experience. And Lindsay, I'll give you a heads up, maybe if you can touch on like what you considered as you made your selection, because Lindsay went through a program with the University of Minnesota in Senegal, which isn't as common of a location destination for students to study abroad in, but a really unique opportunity. So I mean, we see most students studying abroad in Western Europe. Our top countries that students do study in are Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. But we really encourage students to think early about what they're hoping to get out of the experience. So that's like academically, what classes they want to be taking. Personally, are there any goals that they have? Maybe they want to study a certain language, or maybe they want to learn more about that region of the world, or develop kind of hobbies that might be unique to that area as well. Or if there's career goals, maybe they're wanting to make certain connections or network while they're overseas to see if there's any opportunities for career opportunities afterwards and after they graduate. So I would really encourage your student to think kind of what works best for them. We do have a lot of programs where there's other DU students studying on those programs, but no matter what, there's always other international students or other US students on their study abroad program. And if that's, a priority, which again, taking the time to identify that, then we can help guide them to the program that's right for them. And we do start very early in terms of like educating students and giving them the opportunity to plan early. This spring, we'll start our Kickstart sessions, which, get them thinking about early on, if they're first years, what they need to consider. Because I'd say that's often the hardest part is deciding where to go and which program to go on. And it can be, a little overwhelming because of the amount of options. So I understand the question, Chrissy. Sorry if I didn't answer it most directly. We get the question a lot too, but I think mostly we just want students to find the right fit program for them, and really give that consideration. Lindsay, I don't know if you want to touch on kind of what you considered with when you were selecting your program.
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, I was looking for a bit of a different experience. And so my program offered a homestay, which was something I wanted. And all of my classes were in French. So I was very interested in kind of the language immersion aspect of the program. And then through my program, I also did an internship for 6 weeks. And that was something that was really of interest to me as well. Just to get some like career clarity, I guess, while I was abroad and just to build those sort of international career skills. So all those things were like the main factors for me when I was looking at a program. But I would say that study abroad is one of the safest kind of opportunities to travel abroad. I think I would never have gone to Senegal otherwise. And I was in like a really supportive environment. And so I think if I had gone on my own, it wouldn't have been the same. But because I was there with other Americans and with people that worked with Americans, I felt really supported and I really got to immerse myself and have just an amazing experience that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So absolutely highly encourage exploring your options for other continents. But like Erica said, it's just about finding the right fit for your student, and what they really want out of the experience.
And I give a lot of credit to our peer advisors like Lindsay in our office. We have a current team of 8 who work in our office and are available to chat with during our drop-in advising hours. And, when your students come to DU, Lindsay won't be here, sadly. I will cry when she leaves, but others will who have studied abroad, and they're a real asset to, exploring what program options, how they decided, what Lindsay just shared, I think is really useful since it's been some time since I've studied abroad and how, thinking about how I decided.
This has all been so great. Again, we only have just 1 or 2 minutes left. So if you have any burning questions that you want to ask before our time is up. Otherwise, I did want to share this final slide with some more information about study abroad. I know that Erica and Lindsay have both been putting links in the chat, so feel free to click on those and select those. If you had any friends who were hoping to attend this session tonight but couldn't make it, we will be sending out some more information a little bit later with all of our sessions. And so you can definitely come back and revisit this conversation or share with people who weren't able to make it tonight. But with that, and in wrapping up, I want to say thank you so much to everybody for attending. Please, if you have any questions to follow up on, please reach out to our study abroad office or your admissions counselor. They will be happy to get you connected to the study abroad office as well. Otherwise, we are right at time, so I don't want to take any more of your time, but have a great rest of your night. I hope to see you in some other sessions later this week. And yeah, again, please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you all so much. Have a great night.